Hi everybody, this is Lisa. Welcome back to my channel. Have you ever wondered about Annie's Kit Clubs and if those projects were easy or hard or how long they took? Well, today I am going to make this sign from Annie's Farmhouse Kit Club. It's the thankful sign. I'm going to show you step-by-step directions and let you know my honest opinion on whether this was an easy craft to make or a pain in the butt. So let's get started. I have all my supplies right here that came in the kit. I just took them out of the crinkly packaging so it wouldn't be annoying on camera to have all that crinkly packaging. It seems like I forgot this. If you don't like the crinkle sound, cover your ears. This is the paint. Oops. There's 4 tubes of white and 3 of black, paintbrush, some blue painter's tape, some cosmetic sponges, the press-on decal, some lightweight grit sandpaper, some balsa wood, and double-sided sticky foamy stuff. So let's get started. The first thing they want me to do is take apart the frame. It says use a screwdriver, but I don't need a screwdriver. I'm just gonna peel these little things back on the back side of the picture frame and take it out. This is gonna be the main center of the project. And obviously this is the frame. And it just says lightly sand all wood pieces, wipe with a damp paper towel to remove the dust. So I'm gonna go ahead and lightly sand and speed up this part of the sanding process. Okay, that was really easy. The next thing we're to do is paint the wood backer white and the wood and this piece of cardboard white. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now I gotta paint this backer board white. The next thing you do is let both pieces dry. So I have a heat gun. I'm going to speed up the drying process with my heat gun, and then we'll start the next step. So while the white paint is drying, I am going to paint the frame. I did go back and resand the frame to do a better job, and then I wiped off the excess little particles of wood. So this is really simple, just painting the frame black. So I'm going to speed up this part as well. So I painted the whole frame, painted the outer borders, the inner borders, and dried it up with my heat gun. I'm going to set it aside, and now we're going to start with the checkerboard of the project. So this is the board that I painted totally white. It was extremely easy. I made sure it's very dry. And this is probably the most complicated part of the whole project. So what you do is you take a ruler I just grabbed my quilting ruler, and I'm going to show you right here. It says, place the back on a work surface with the ruler and pencil, mark long edges 6 and 7 inches. So I'm just going to take a little pencil and put a little mark there at the 6 and the 7 inch mark. And I'm going to do it on both sides. Make sure it's flush. And then it says adhere tape between pencil marks. So they provided the blue painter's tape for us, which was really nice. The nice thing about Annie's is they give you everything you need to do a project. So let me figure out the easiest way to put down the tape is to actually take it off the roll. And you put it in between your marks. Then you take another piece of tape, and this is going to be our spacer tape, and you just put it down next to the first piece that you did. And this is going to be my spacer tape. And you're going to just apply the tape flush to that, lift up your spacer, and go down the length of your project. So once you have your tape laid out, you're just going to press it down and make sure the edges are covered. And then we're gonna paint again. So mine is not perfect, but it looks good to me. Then it tells you to squeeze an entire tube of white paint on the plate. Oops, forgot. You gotta open it up here. Then it tells you mix a little black in there. So I still have some black left over from the frame, and you're going to create a light gray. You can just stir it up. Unfortunately, this looks really dark. So I'm going to save this for my dark gray, because that's what's coming up next. So I'm going to do it again. I want a lighter gray. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the gray that I have on my paintbrush and see if that's enough. That's much lighter. Let's go with this light gray. So with this light gray, I'm going to take my sponge and dab between the lines. Just going to take the sponge right here. Let's start at this end and just gently dab it. Now that the light gray paint is totally dry, I am going to carefully take off the strips. And it came out very nice. I was a little worried that I was possibly getting some paint underneath the strip, but it looks very good. So now what we're gonna do, once all these strips are off, is I'm gonna turn the board vertical in front of me, and I'm gonna measure in 4.5. I'm gonna mark 2 little lines at the 4.5 mark and the 5.5 mark. And I'm gonna go ahead and do that on both sides. And I'm going to apply the tape in the opposite direction. So let me just turn it sideways so you can see it. So far, I am very impressed with the ease in making this project. You just have to be patient and let the paint dry. And if you have a heat gun like I do, I would take out that heat gun and have at it. So let me get a spacer, and I'm going to do the same process with the spacer and tape this entire board. Then same process, you just make sure your tape is down securely and that your edges are covered. And I'm going to go ahead and use the darker gray that I mixed up earlier and dab on these spaces. Go ahead and add a little bit more paint and actually make it a little darker. And my paint's been sitting here for at least 30 minutes, but it's still damp, it's still wet. It did not dry up. So if you have to let your paint sit for a little while, it's not going to be a problem. Okay, that looks good. And let's get to cracking. I want to get that. I'm going to start at this end. The paint is perfectly dry. This is the dark gray shade that I used. Now I'm going to go back and keep the tape down. And I'm going to mark at the 6 and the 7-inch marks on both sides and apply tape. This is an extremely easy project. If I had any doubts that it was hard, that was all in my head. This is a project a grown person can do. Even a child can do this project with the assistance probably of a parent in some areas. But it is extremely easy project. So if you have fear of starting a project and not understanding it, don't have that fear with this one because the instructions are very clear and extremely easy. And what's nice about it is that you have a finished project in one day. You just have to have patience. You have to have patience and let the paint dry, or use a heat gun like I'm using a heat gun, because that really does speed up the process. And if you don't have a heat gun, a hair dryer would work just as well. I happen to have a heat gun because my husband has a heat gun. And that's how come I have a heat gun. He has tools for everything, and I didn't even know. Who knew he had one until I asked? So let me apply the last bit of tape real quickly, and I'll show you what we do next. So I still have some black paint left, and hopefully it will be enough and I won't have to open up a new tube. But you just take the black paint and you sponge in these areas. You're going to sponge it. It's kind of hard to see, but you're going to sponge it in the squares that are exposed. So let's get started. So I painted all the black squares, and now I am going to peel off the tape. I did have a little mistake here at the very top, which I hope I can fix, but we shall see. Patience is key in letting the paint dry, and having the tape stuck all the way down is also very critical. So I might have to do a little hand painting in a couple of areas if the checkerboard didn't come out perfectly. And if it's not perfect, that's okay too. It will just add to the whimsy of this project. So far, I see one small area over here that I'll have to hand paint. But overall, I am very pleased with the results. So the next part is getting this picture onto here, and I'll show you that in the next part of the video. The paint finally dried on the backer board. It didn't come out perfectly, but I got it as best as I could. So what I'm going to do now is just put it back in the frame. And push down the edges. And that is it. The next step is to transfer the sign onto the piece that I painted white yesterday. So what you do, it's quite simple. I think the hardest part is going to be accurate placement. Let's take it out of the package. So they actually gave 2 of them, so you can save one for another project. And this is the one I'm going to use. You just peel off the backing. Center it. This is critical. I want to make sure it's centered nicely. So you can even lift it up ever so slightly until you're happy with the placement. Okay, that looks good. And you just take the little stick, they gave us a little popsicle stick, and just rub. So there's just one little area I couldn't get, and I'm going to fill that in with a pen. And there we have it. I think it came out pretty good. It looks pretty centered to me. So the last thing you do is center it on here with double-sided sticky tape. Just make sure you have the picture hook on top before you lay it down. And I'm just gonna eyeball it because I can always lift it up. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the finished sign. It looks very similar to this one. And I think it came out really good. The best advice I can give is to ensure the paint dries before applying the next color. And before taking off the tape, make sure everything is perfectly dry. And just take your time and have fun. Thanks for watching all. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.